Hello, everyone. This is News Now from the Belmont Journal, and we are joined by Joanna Tzouvelis of the Belmont Citizen-Herald for our regular weekly update on the news. And I'm your host, Mike Crowley. So good to see you again, Joanna.
Hi, Mike. Always good to see you too.
Well, let's talk first about the Beatrice Circle project. It's a proposed development for 91 Beatrice Circle that has generated a lot of controversy for both Belmont and the neighborhood that it's situated in. What's the current status?
Okay, I'm going to give you an update, Mike. It's been nearly 6 months since public hearings started for this project, which is a 40B. It's proposed for a single family lot located at 91 Beatrice Circle. The project is seeking 21 waivers from the Zoning Board of Appeals. It was originally actually 38 waivers. It's gone down a little bit. The developer is Comprehensive Land Holdings. They purchased the lot, which is about 23,500 square feet, for $1.4 million in 2019. And state law, the Chapter 40B state law, allows developers to avoid certain zoning regulations as long as the project makes 25% of the units affordable. And this particular project is going to be 12 units. 3 of them will be affordable. It's a total of 40 bedrooms. It was originally actually 48 bedrooms, 16 units. They've scaled down.
So, Joanna, the scaling down of the project has come in response to some of the concerns that have been voiced. Isn't that right?
Right. And all these concerns are actually related to the size and scale of the project. So I'll review some of these concerns.
Okay.
And you'll see some pictures as I'm talking, which definitely show that it's a very tight site. It's, we're talking about 12 townhouses going on a single family lot. And so that limits the amount of open space there can be. And as a result of that, it also makes the driveway is very narrow, which could cause a problem if there's a delivery happening. So I'm talking about the driveway between the 2 buildings. There's 2 buildings, one 3-story building, one 4-story building, and they're all townhouses. And there's this driveway in the middle where, people will have access to their garages and deliveries will be made, but it's very narrow. And that's a cause for concern too, if there's, an emergency vehicle needs to get access and there's cars blocking the way. Another major concern is the storm water management of this site, because there is potential for what's called a bathtub effect to occur, which is when floodwater backs up and rises rapidly, causing, the deep and widespread flooding across the floodplain, much like a bathtub with 5 taps turned on, but only one plug hole to let the water out. So this could compromise the integrity of a retaining wall, which is very close to a neighboring property. It's only 2 feet away from this neighboring property. So they have to demonstrate that they can really manage this stormwater flow. And they're actually, that's one of the waivers they're seeking. They're no longer seeking a stormwater management waiver that will have to go through the regular permitting process through the town. And they are assuring, the planning department is assuring the public that they will not get an occupancy permit unless this stormwater management plan is satisfactory to them. So that is a concern.
Okay.
Okay, if the zoning board approves this and there's no condition for the stormwater management, what's going to happen? It's, they're very worried. They don't have to worry because it will go through the regular building permit process.
So I wanted to ask you, Joanna, what is the approval process from here on out?
I want to tell you about that. I didn't mention some of the other concerns as well.
Okay.
Noise, hammering of a way of 750 cubic yards of ledge. It's going to create a lot of noise for at least 3 weeks. That's a concern of neighbors. And then there's also concern when the project does get built, there's all these AC units that could be running at the same time in the summer and could also affect noise levels for abutters. So that's another concern. Pedestrian safety is another concern, especially when there's snow, and the snow often ends up on the sidewalks. So there's nowhere for people to stand except the street. And that's a concern for children who most likely will be living in the development, since there are 3 or 4 bedrooms for these units. And when they're waiting for the bus, people concerned for their safety. That was another concern that was brought up. I think I've gone over all of the concerns. The
Okay,
major.
so a number of
Now you're
concerns.
saying next steps.
Yes.
Next steps. Okay. There are two more public hearings. One is July 26th, and that's a really important one because it's going to focus mostly on public comments.
Now, this is before the Zoning Board of Appeals, is that right?
Right. The chairman of the zoning board added this additional hearing on July 26th strictly for the public to come and express their concerns in person. They're doing it in person. It'll either be at the town hall auditorium or the art gallery. Please check the town website to find out the location. And then on August 2nd, that will be the final hearing. And at this hearing, after that hearing, they will have 40 days to deliberate and make a decision by September 10th, which is a big task. And they have basically, there's three options, Mike.
Okay.
That will approve the application or approve it with conditions or deny it. And then if they deny it, the developer has the right to appeal the decision within 20 days to the Housing Appeals Committee, also known as the HAC.
Now, so Joanna, I did want to ask you about the Housing Appeals Committee. This isn't a Belmont committee, is it?
No, this is a state committee. So if whatever the decision ends up being, unless it's approved, but if it's denied or approved with conditions, the developer could try to make an appeal with the Housing Appeals Committee, especially if it's denied. And the Housing Appeals Committee can rule that they're looking at, okay, was this a fair decision by the Zoning Board of Appeals? They're looking at, is let's say the Zoning Board of Appeals says, we'll approve it, however, with the condition that you make it smaller. Instead of 12 units, we want it to be 8 units, or we want it to be 6 units because it's too big for this site. So they can appeal that with the Housing Appeals Committee, and the Housing Appeals Committee could say, well, now the project is uneconomic, and we won't allow that. But the Housing Appeals Committee has very strict guidelines that they follow, and if they find that the decision isn't fair, it makes the project uneconomic, they will overturn the decision of the Zoning Board of Appeals. And it just goes right back. It actually won't even go through this permitting process anymore. It'll just get built. And
so let me ask you, Joanna, really quick about the time frame. So if the Zoning Board of Appeals approved the project and it went forward, how soon before the developer starts building? And the same thing, if it gets appealed to the Housing Appeals Committee, what would be the time frame there for?
I honestly can't tell you.
Okay.
I don't have that information, so I'm not going to tell you.
All right.
But time will tell. That's my answer to that. I'm not going to guess. And I like to report accurate information, so I can't tell you that. But again, if you want to learn more about the project, you can go to the Zoning Board of Appeals section of the town website. And again, the Housing Appeals Committee, they can't require the town to accept unsafe construction. And with this stormwater management issue and some of these pedestrian safety issues, there is a chance that they won't be able to appeal it. But we're going to see what happens. We have to see what the zoning board decides, and then we have to see if whatever they decide, if the developer decides to appeal it.
All right, Joanna.
What I will say about the developer is that they have done a lot of these types of projects in Milton, and they don't usually, their history shows that they usually don't just do one project. They're going to do multiple projects in a particular town. So it's possible that they have their eyes on other sites. But again, that's speculation. I'm just saying, based on their past history with other towns, it's usually not just one project.
All right, as you say, Joanna, time will tell. And in the meantime, if people want to raise concerns or voice an opinion about the project, they can certainly do so before one of the two remaining meetings.
Right, July 26th and August 2nd.
Okay, so to shift gears, Joanna, let's talk about a new pop-up store in Belmont Center. What can you tell us about that?
This is exciting. So where Craft Beer Cellar used to be located at 51 Leonard Street, there's a new, what they call a pop-up shop, cheap and chic boutique. It's owned by Revolve Consignment, which is just a few doors down from it. And a pop-up shop is basically a temporary shop. It's there through the end of the summer, and it's open Monday through Saturday, noon to 5. It's owned by Lisa Castagno, who owns Revolve, and this is her 6th location. She opened Revolve 12 years ago in Cushing Square in Belmont, and since then she's expanded into Winchester and Newton and Boston and Reading. And what Revolve is it's a way you can recycle your clothing, but it has to be designer clothing, Michael, like Zara and Brandy Melville, J. Crew, Madewell, Lululemon. And the cheap and chic boutique has price points for under $100, which is exciting for people that like designer clothes and are on a budget. And for more information, you can go to revolveboutiques.com.
All right. Let me ask you if we have time. This does seem to be the season for scams, doesn't it, Joanna?
I think scams are year round, but we like to warn residents about certain things, especially online scams and scams. You might get a text on your phone or an email. Don't fall for it. Someone could say they're with Social Security, and then they're telling you that there's been a problem with your number. Your number's been compromised, and if you don't give us money, then we can't fix it. And you have to wire the money, you have to pay with Bitcoin, or you have to go through PayPal or some other kind of online method that is not legitimate. Lieutenant Daly with the Belmont Police says you never have to pay to fix a problem with your Social Security number, and no government entity or private company takes Bitcoin for payment. Sometimes they even ask for gift cards, Mike. They'll say, oh, go, get some Target gift cards and we'll resolve this for you. That's a scam, but unfortunately people fall for it. There's also some online scams. You'll get an email and it'll tell you, it'll look like it's from your bank, and it'll say, oh, you should update your username and password. What's your current username and password? Don't fall for that. That's a scam. It's a fake bank. And if you look really closely, sometimes you'll notice the URL is weird. There's something off about it. So if you're ever in doubt, you just call your bank or you call the police and they will tell you. I actually got a text recently saying, call and you'll get your federal relief for COVID. That was a scam. It was a scam. And the area code was like 708. So just don't fall for those. And also check your statements, check your bank statements. Some of us don't even get physical bank statements, right? We get them all online now, but check your statements, especially Venmo. Venmo does get compromised. There was recently a report from someone who on their Venmo account, it made a payment to someone for $860, which they did not make through Santander Bank. You really got to watch these things.
All right, that is good advice, Joanna. So we'll talk with you next time, and you can find more news from the Belmont Citizen-Herald at belmont.wickedlocal.com. You've been watching the Belmont Journal's News Now. I'm Mike Crowley, and I'll see you next time.